What happens to your client experience when the file changes hands? Your best agent can earn trust in the consultation, set clear expectations, and make the client feel fully understood. Then the work moves to another person, the context disappears, and the client feels as if they've started over with a different company. That shift can happen between the agent and an assistant, between marketing and transaction coordination, or between the team and an outside partner. Everyone may be doing their assigned task. The client can still experience a gap because nobody owns the space between those tasks. Real estate clients place a lot of responsibility in the hands of their agent. The National Association of Realtors reported that 88% of buyers purchased through an agent or broker in its 2025 profile. 92% said they were satisfied with the buying process. While those numbers reflect a lot of good work across the industry, they also raise the standard a leader has to protect as more people begin touching the transaction. Growth changes where trust can break. When one agent handles nearly every conversation, they carry the history in their head. Add a showing assistant, listing coordinator, marketing specialist, or transaction coordinator, and the business gains capacity. It also creates more moments where an update can lose its owner or a client preference can get buried in a note. Consumer research from Qualtrics gives leaders a useful warning. In its 2025 Trends Report, service delivery issues appeared in 46% of bad experiences, and communication problems appeared in 45%. The same report found that 64% of consumers prefer companies that tailor experiences to their specific needs. A polished process still has to feel connected to the person going through it. If you lead a team or brokerage like this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling us where client handoffs get hardest in your business. Is it at listing launch, contract execution, inspection, or closing? So this is the kind of operating problem we keep working through inside Real Edge Network. A team lead may know their own process well and still benefit from comparing notes with someone who has already handled the same pressure at a different scale. The decision stays with the lead. Experienced relationships can help them see the gap sooner and build a cleaner response. I'd build a client handoff standard around 4 questions. What promise has been made to the client? Who owns the next step? How will the client know the handoff happened? What happens if the step is missed? Promise owner, confirmation, recovery. Those 4 pieces make the space between tasks visible. Start with the promise. Every transaction contains explicit promises and quieter ones. The listing will go live on a certain date. The seller will hear from the team after showings. The buyer will know what happens after the inspection. A document request will receive a response. Pull those promises out of email threads and meeting notes so the team can see them. Take one recent transaction and map the moments when the client needed certainty. Begin with the consultation, move through preparation, active service, negotiation, contract to close, and follow-up. At each stage, write down what the client expected to happen and what the business committed to provide. Keep the language plain enough that a client would recognize it. You'll probably find that some promises live inside one person's habits. One agent always calls sellers on Friday. Another sends a written recap after every inspection. Those habits may be excellent, but the team can't protect what it hasn't named. Document the promise first. The agent can keep the voice and personal touches that make it theirs. AI can help organize this audit after names, addresses, financial details, and private client information have been removed. Give it the anonymized timeline, the messages sent, and the team's process notes. Ask it to identify every client-facing promise, the point where responsibility changes, and any promise with no visible owner or confirmation. A prompt could read, review this anonymized real estate transaction timeline. Identify every promise made to the client, every change in responsibility, and every point where the client may have been unsure about what happened next. Create a table with the promise, current owner, expected completion time, confirmation sent to the client, and recovery action if the step was missed. Treat only documented information as fact. The output gives you a working map. It may show that the listing coordinator owns the MLS entry while nobody owns the message telling the seller it's live. It may show that the transaction coordinator requests a document while the agent assumes the client understands why it's needed. The task is assigned. The client experience around the task is still open. The second question is ownership. One person should own each client-facing moment. even when several people contribute to it. That person confirms the step, watches the deadline, and knows who has to be pulled in when something changes. Other people can complete the work while the owner keeps the client-facing commitment connected. Be careful with shared ownership. The team will update the client sounds collaborative in a meeting at 4 o'clock on a busy Friday. It can mean every person thinks somebody else already handled it. Put one name beside the moment. The rest of the team can support that owner through a checklist, notification, or backup rule. Write the owner into the workflow where the work already happens. If the team lives in a CRM, put it there. If transaction coordination runs from a shared file, use that file. A new dashboard won't help if the people responsible never open it. The handoff standard should become part of the normal path through the transaction. The third question is confirmation. An internal task can be complete while the client moment remains open. Marketing can finish the listing assets, yet the seller may still wonder whether the launch is on schedule. The inspection can be booked, yet the buyer may still need the time, location, and next decision explained. Confirmation closes that distance. NAR's broker coverage of a shifting market emphasized consistent seller communication, including contact when there's no new development to report. That principle applies across the transaction. Silence leaves room for the client to create their own explanation. A short update can confirm that the work is moving and tell them when they'll hear from you again. Give the team a simple confirmation format. Tell the client what was completed, what happens next, who owns it, and when the next update will arrive. 4 short fields. They can become a phone call outline, a text, or an email depending on the client's preference and the weight of the moment. This is where consistency and personalization can work together. The standard defines what the client should know. The agent chooses how to explain it in a way that fits the relationship. One client may want a quick text. Another may need a call and a written recap. The promise stays consistent while the communication remains personal. The fourth question is recovery. Handoffs will occasionally fail. A deadline moves, a vendor is late, an email sits unanswered. The recovery plan should already tell the team who contacts the client, what information gets confirmed first, and when leadership needs to enter the conversation. Build a few clear escalation triggers. A missed contractual deadline goes up immediately. A client expressing confusion or loss of confidence reaches the agent or team lead. A routine delay may stay with the current owner when the client receives a prompt explanation and a new time commitment. The rules should match the exposure. Team leads sometimes hear about a broken handoff only after the client has repeated the story to several people. Give the first person who hears the concern a clear intake path. Capture what the client expected, what they experienced, and what they need now. Then assign the response before the concern gets forwarded into a long message chain. AI can help a team lead rehearse the recovery without writing a cold, automated apology. Use it to organize the known facts, identify unanswered questions, and prepare the conversation. The leader or agent should review every word and make the actual contact. Tone and judgment belong with the person responsible for the relationship. Try this prompt. Using these anonymized facts, prepare a recovery brief for a client handoff that didn't go as planned. Separate confirmed facts from open questions. Identify the commitment that was missed, the immediate client need, the person who should own the response, and the next commitment the team can confidently make. Do not draft an apology until the responsible leader has reviewed the facts. Once the standard is built, audit it with real files. Review 5 transactions from different agents and different stages. Check whether each client-facing promise had an owner, whether confirmation was visible, and whether delays triggered the right response. You're looking for recurring gaps in the system, along with good habits that deserve to become part of the standard. Keep the scorecard operational. Measure missed confirmations, unclear owners, repeated client questions, and recovery time. Review the pattern monthly. A small number of useful measures will show whether the handoffs are getting cleaner without turning the team into a reporting department. Use the findings in coaching. If one agent's clients always know what comes next, study how that agent communicates. If a coordinator catches risks early, bring that method into the shared workflow. The team already contains useful experience. Leadership can make that experience easier for everyone to access. This is where experienced relationships outside the company can help too. Inside RealEdge Network, a team lead can bring a live operating question to people who understand the trade-offs. How much structure protects the client? Where does a standard begin to slow the work? which checkpoint has held up under real volume. That kind of conversation helps a leader pressure test the process before rolling it across the business. Your standard should protect the client and leave room for the agent's strengths. Define the promises that must be kept, make ownership visible, confirm the handoff in the client's preferred channel, prepare the recovery before it's needed. The service becomes easier to trust because the client can feel continuity even as different people contribute. Here's the action step. Pick one transaction that changed hands at least 3 times. Map the promises, owners, confirmations, and recovery points. Fix one gap before the next client reaches that stage. Then repeat the audit with 4 more files and look for the pattern. If this gave you a useful way to protect the client experience, like the video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with the handoff you're auditing first. Share it with a leader whose business has grown past the point where one person can carry every detail. Growth gives more people a chance to contribute to the client's success. The leader's job is to make every transition feel connected. Name the promise, assign the owner, confirm the next step, keep the recovery plan ready. The client should feel one business keeping its word from the first conversation through the final follow-up.